On Beyond the Gates, Leslie told Marcel she was aware that he'd only been at her side at Winterfest because the Dupreys had paid him to run security and watch her. Marcel admitted that yes, he'd been instructed to keep Leslie away from Laura and that he couldn't turn down the top dollar such a gig paid. Leslie liked Marcel's comment that the Dupreys needed more protection from her than she did from them, but she was dubious about his continued flirtation. Marcel told Leslie that perhaps he was hustling the Dupreys as a means of getting close to Leslie rather than hustling Leslie to get intel to report back to the Dupreys. When Leslie asked into why Marcel had given her a chilly reception at the police station, Marcel replied that he had a reputation to maintain and that he didn't want Elon and his punk-ass son asking questions. Marcel readied to depart uptown when Leslie accused him of trying to get her drunk, but she squeezed his leg and playfully chided the detective for leaving a woman to drink alone. Leslie's tongue did loosen as she imbibed more. She confided that she'd only loved one man her entire life and that he hadn't appreciated her even after learning she had given him a daughter. She'd been coming to the realization that she might have simply been convenient to Ted when he needed a shoulder to cry on. Marcel called Ted a fool for dismissing Leslie, who let Marcel know that she wasn't giving up on Ted. If Marcel was looking for some whirlwind romance with her, it wasn't going to happen. Assuring Leslie that he was cool with whatever went down, Marcel promised that he wasn't like any other man Leslie had met and moved in to kiss her. Bill ran into Danny at the country club and declared her luminous. Danny worried that stroke survivor Bill was going to try to keep up with the club's college athletes, but he said he was only there to meet Haley for dinner. After Danny cracked that Bill was going to have to set Haley up with crayons at the kiddie table, and Bill inquired into Danny's decorative man-boy, the exes decided to be civil and got into what Bill had gotten their daughters for Christmas instead. Danny was amazed when Bill revealed he had found the case belonging to Charlotte E. Ray, 1950-1911, the first black woman to become a lawyer in the United States for Naomi. But then Bill noted that he had called in his marker with Michael Baldwin, a Genoa City lawyer he had worked with in the early 2000s, and arranged for Baldwin's wife, department store heiress Lauren Fenmore, to work with Chelsea on distributing Chelsea cat products. Later, Bill noticed that Danny was drinking ginger ale instead of partaking in her usual eggnog martinis. Danny was fine with being sober since she had a man who only had eyes for her in Andre. Bill understood that Danny had drunk heavily to deal with him. Danny clarified that she had been mourning her identity and career, though she assured Bill that he hadn't forced her to give up modeling, she had done it willingly, thinking that was what love required. Danny appreciated now being with a man with whom she had a partnership rather than an equity. Bill countered that not all their Christmases had been bad. He remembered a particularly memorable holiday with Danny and the girls in Germany. But his favorite Christmas memory was one during which the still childless couple were snowed in at the Dupree family cabin. Bill flashed back to their younger selves in a moment where Danny announced to Bill that she was expecting his first baby. Young Bill was thrilled and promised to forever take care of Danny and their child. Bill called it the best Christmas gift he had ever received, and looked at Naomi and Chelsea as proof that he and Danny had at least gotten something right. At the Dupree manse, Anita remained pensive as Vernon complimented her. The matriarch was about to tell the patriarch what was on her mind when Andre arrived on the door. Vernon whispered to Andre, who was there to update his father-in-law on the photo restoration he was preparing as Vernon's Christmas gift to Anita, that he couldn't talk. The men told Anita that they were getting together to work on ideas to improve Martin's digital presence as he went into his bid for re-election. After Anita went to the kitchen for refreshments and Vernon sprinted upstairs to retrieve the inscription he wanted Andre to include with the photo, Andre looked wistfully and sadly at a complete family portrait of the Dupreys. The returning Anita saw the dark cloud over Andre's head and invited him to sit with her. She empathized about having to pretend that the holidays didn't hurt, citing her rough, poverty-stricken childhood Christmases growing up in the Chicago projects. Andre was grateful that the Dupreys, especially his aunt and uncle Ted and Nicole, had embraced him after the death of his parents, but he still felt the empty space left by their loss. Anita was certain that Andre's mother and father would be proud of him and the life he had created, not just with Danny, but as an insightful photographer who crystallized memories for so many others. Lynette met with a cold Haley at the mall and was surprised to learn that Randy was joining them. After Lynette expressed wonder that the three of them were all in the same town again, Randy corrected that he had been in DC longer than cousin Haley. Lynette and Randy laughed over a scam where Val had convinced a rich elderly gentleman that she was his long-lost granddaughter and got herself written into his will, with Randy playing the concerned brother. Haley remained unmoved, and Lynette griped about how both Haley and Randy had left her high and dry. "Look at us Bibez kids," Lynette marveled, referring to a 1992 animated comedy of the same name. "If only those in Allegheny West, a poor Philadelphia neighborhood, could see them now." Randy observed a disconnect between Lynette supposedly going legit and her currently being up on embezzlement charges. Lynette realized that Randy and Haley thought she was playing them and maintained that only a lawyer of Bill's stature could get her out of her mess. After Lynette left, Haley and Randy decided they could test Lynette by letting Bill represent her, as Haley could keep an eye on her. Haley doubted Randy's participation since he had been of no help when Bill had collapsed. Randy promised he would be more proactive where Lynette was concerned, and Haley excused herself, chipperly saying that she didn't want to keep her soon-to-be-departed husband waiting. Haley and Danny glued on smiles when Haley arrived at the country club for her dinner with Bill. Danny went home to find a shirtless Andre preparing dinner. He had gone running to clear his head. After Danny enticed Andre into the shower, she told him about the nostalgic conversation she and Bill had just had. Andre stiffened at the news and presumed that the ex's talk had been therapeutic. Danny confirmed that it had been just that, as it had made her think about how difficult the holidays must be for Andre. She wanted to revive any beloved traditions that Andre might have had with his mom and dad, but he was more interested in the present and creating new memories with Danny. Clothes came back off and the camera cut away to the fireplace. Haley droned on to Bill about the decorating being done at their new vacation spot in St. Bart's, but soon realized Bill wasn't listening. Bill soberly said he had something he wanted to discuss with her. Haley nearly flipped thinking Bill was backing out of taking her to the Caribbean. Instead, Bill admitted he had, because of his chat with Danny, been thinking back to when Chelsea and Naomi were young and how much he had loved raising them. Once they got past the holidays, Bill proposed to Haley. It was time to explore Haley going off her hormone-regulating birth control pills. He wanted them to resume their attempt to have a baby together. Haley grinned uncomfortably. Back at the Dupree mansion, Vernon and Anita reminisced about their first meeting at the protest march they had both attended in the 70s. The Articulates had just come off a 30-city tour, and Anita had only wanted to rest, except manager Dante Green thought it would benefit the group to appear at the rally. Vernon remembered Anita fussing about her aching feet even in their first moments. Anita was happy she had resisted her urge to leave since Vernon had had the kindest eyes. When Vernon wondered what Anita had been about to tell him before Andre's arrival, she simply said she wanted to go over holiday schedules with him. Anita declared herself a lucky woman, having been blessed with a special career, husband, and family, but Vernon noted that Anita was speaking in the past tense. He assured Anita that the two of them were just beginning and that they had many more years together. As Vernon hugged Anita, the concern was obvious on her face. Beyond the Gates airs weekdays on CBS and streams on Paramount+.